Welcome to Meliora's channel, your go-to place for C# and data analysis tutorials, products hands-on demos, and insider secrets to keep you at the cutting edge of innovation. Our goal is to break down complex tech topics to a level that you will easily understand to supercharge your skills. Without further ado, let's jump right.
Welcome back. So in today's lecture, we're going to be looking at views with MySQL. So views are virtual tables that allow us to view data from multiple tables and query it as though it were a single table. You can also use data from only a single table in views as well, but the important thing to note is that it's a virtual table, so it's not the table itself. So for this lecture, we are going to create a view. We're going to learn how to update your view, and we're also going to drop the view that we've just created. So we're just going to go through that whole work through with this and then that. Okay, so first let's go ahead and create a view. So we're going to create a yearly salary, a view called yearly salary that shows the annual salary of staff. So here in MySQL, let's go ahead and do that. So we create views using the create view statement, followed by the view name. In this case, we're going to call our view yearly salary. And then we're now going to use as because we want to select some certain things into our view. Let's put enter, let's put that there. And we're now going to, we want the ID column. And then we now want the salary multiplied by 12 from the table, let's put from on a different line, from the table employee data. Okay. Now let's go ahead and actually name this. Let's call this annual salary. Okay, so we're going to create a view called yearly salary as select ID, and then you're going to times the salary times 12 because the current employee data table we have are monthly salaries. You store that as using the alias in the as an annual salary and then from employee data. So let's also not forget to get our use just so it knows which database we are going to do all of this on. So first things first, let's okay. So now we can see that successfully run. And if we just go ahead and refresh, we now see our view yearly salary is now created. And like I said, we can query it like a normal table. So we want to select all from the yearly salary table. Okay, and that's what we have. So we have the ID of the staff and then the annual salaries here. Okay, so next we're going to now update our view. So if for this update now, we are going to update the created view yearly salary so that it's now going to be the overall yearly salary by department, not by individual staff anymore. Okay, so we're back in the workbench and let's go ahead and just get a bit more space for ourselves. Let's close the results grid from that. And so now what we want to do is we want to update this view so that instead of just having the staff IDs and then the annual salary, what we want is we want to group the annual salaries by department. So to update a view, we use the create or replace view and then the view name. Okay. And so this time what we want to do is we want to select the sum of the salaries, we want to select that. We also want to select the department. So let's use D. And since we're doing that, we need to use E. So the E and D are just aliases that we are going to use for the table names, because we are going to be querying data from the employee data table as well as the departments table. Okay, so we're now going to say from the employee data table, and we're now going to put E so that it knows that it's the alias E. And then we are now also going to put D for the department so that it knows that. And we are now going to go ahead and do that. Okay, now the last thing that we are going to type here is our group by clause, because again we are summing the salaries, the annual times 12 to get the annual, and we now want to group them by the department name. So that's what we have. Okay, so we're using create or replace view to update this view as. So we're now replacing what we put into the view initially. So now we want the sum of these salary times 12 to get the annual. So sum of the annual salaries, and we now want from the department table department name, and so we're now just going to join those two values there. So now effectively what we're going to have is just a list of the department and the annual salaries of those departments. So the payouts annually going out from those departments. Okay, so and that's done. Let's go ahead and refresh. And then let's use this query we've already written. Just run it to then select everything again. Let's bring up the results grid a bit higher. Okay. And there's what we now have. So we have the department name, and then we now have the sum of the annual salaries for each of those departments. Okay, and that brings us to the last part of the lecture on views, so your intro. So it's now how to drop your view. Okay, so dropping a view is as easy as dropping a database or table. We just simply write drop view and then the view name. Let's close the result grid and let's just do that. And it's gone. So yes, that's how easy it is when you want to create your view. Look at what you've created, and you want to update your view, and then you want to drop it. So that's how easy it is to get started using views. Okay, and that brings us to the end of the MySQL lecture on views. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.